Imagine giving your entire life to your only son, and one day, he leaves you completely alone.
Evelyn spent years working, sacrificing, and doing everything she could for her son, Ethan.
She believed that when she grew old, her son would be the one person she could always depend on.
But one decision changed everything.
She sold her home, left everything behind, and went to be with the son she trusted more than anyone.
Ethan did something she never expected.
What happened next broke her heart.
But this isn't only a story about a mother being abandoned.
It's a story about losing everything and discovering your own strength.
Before we begin, please take a moment to like this, share it with someone you care about, and follow Practice English for more emotional stories.
Now let's listen to Evelyn's story.
This is My Son Left Me Alone.
My name is Evelyn Carter, and I am 60 years old. For most of my life, I believed that my son would always be there for me. I trusted him more than anyone else in this world. But one day, the person I loved and trusted the most made a decision that changed my life forever. I never imagined that my own son would ask me to leave the home where I had created so many beautiful memories. This is my story. I live alone in a small house in a quiet town where everyone knows each other. 7 years ago, I lost my husband. After he passed away, my son Ethan became the most important person in my life. Ethan was my only child, and I spent my whole life trying to give him everything I could. When he was sick as a little boy, I stayed awake all night taking care of him. When he wanted to go to college, I sold my jewelry to help him pay for his education. When he started his career, I supported him with all my heart. I never asked him for anything in return. As a mother, I only wanted to see my son happy and successful. After some years, Ethan moved to another city. He found a good job, married a wonderful woman named Sophie, and they had a beautiful daughter named Lily. I was very happy for him. Seeing my son build his own family made me proud. In the beginning, Ethan called me almost every day. He would ask, "Mom, did you eat?" Or, "Are you feeling okay?" Sometimes he would say, "Do you need anything? I can help you." Those simple questions made me feel loved. Even though he lived far away, I felt close to him, but slowly, things started to change. His daily calls became weekly calls. Then the weekly calls became short messages. Sometimes I would sit near my phone and wait, hoping to hear his voice. But the phone stayed silent. Still, I never blamed him. I always told myself, Ethan has a busy life. He has a wife, a daughter, and many responsibilities. He still loves me. I tried to understand him because he was my son. One evening, something unexpected happened. My phone rang, and when I looked at the screen, I saw Ethan's name. My heart immediately felt happy. "Hello, Mom," he said. "Ethan, it's so good to hear your voice," I replied. After a short conversation, he said, "Mom, I want to come and visit you tomorrow." I couldn't hide my happiness. "Really? When will you arrive?" I asked. "Tomorrow afternoon," he answered. After the call ended, I smiled for a long time. I cleaned the house carefully. I prepared his favorite meal and bought the cake he always loved when he was younger. The next afternoon, I heard a car stop outside my house. When I opened the door, Ethan was standing there. For a moment, I forgot how much time had passed. I hugged him tightly and said, "My son, I missed you so much." He smiled and hugged me back, but I noticed something different in his eyes. He looked worried. That evening, we sat together at the dinner table. I was happy just to have him beside me again. But after a few minutes of silence, Ethan put down his spoon and looked at me. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important." I looked at his face. "What happened, Ethan?" He took a deep breath and said, "Mom, I don't think you should continue living here alone." I became quiet. I looked around my house. This was the place where I had spent so many years of my life. This was where I had raised my son. Softly, I asked, "But Ethan, this is my home." He looked at me and said, "I know, Mom, but things need to change. At that moment, I didn't know that this conversation would change my life forever. The next morning, I woke up early. For the first time in a long time, I felt happy because my son was sitting in my kitchen again. I made his favorite breakfast and watched him smile while drinking his coffee. For a moment, everything felt like the old days. But deep inside, I remembered the conversation from the night before. I knew Ethan wanted to talk about something important. After breakfast, we sat together at the kitchen table. Ethan looked serious. "Mom, I want you to move closer to me." I looked at him and smiled. "That sounds wonderful, Ethan. I would love to spend more time with you and Lily." But then he continued, "I found a small apartment for you." My smile slowly disappeared. "An apartment?" "Yes, Mom. You won't have to take care of this old house anymore." I looked around my kitchen. The walls were old, and the furniture was simple. But this house was not just a building. Every corner had a memory. My husband had repaired that kitchen table with his own hands. Ethan had taken his first steps in the living room. There were small marks on the wall where I measured his height every year when he was a child. I looked back at my son. "But Ethan, this is my home." He sighed and said, "Mom, you are getting older. I worry about you. What if you fall and nobody is there to help you? What if something happens and nobody knows?" I knew he was worried about me. At least, that was what I wanted to believe. Then he held my hand and said, "You will be closer to us. You can see Lily every weekend. Sophie can help you, and I will be there whenever you need me." I looked at him for a long moment. "Do you really want me to move?" He nodded. "Yes, Mom. I think it will be better for everyone." I trusted him. He was my son. So after thinking about it for a few days, I agreed. A few weeks later, I sold my house. The house where I had spent so many years. The house filled with memories of my husband and my son. I packed my clothes carefully. I packed my husband's old photographs. I packed Ethan's childhood pictures. Every small thing reminded me of a different moment in my life. When I gave Ethan the money from selling the house, he held my hand and said, "Mom, don't worry. I will take care of everything." I believed him. I believed my son. I moved into the small apartment he found for me. At first, everything seemed okay. Ethan visited me twice a week. Sometimes he brought Lily with him, and those moments made me very happy. I thought maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter, but slowly, things started changing again. His visits became less frequent. Twice a week became once a week. Once a week became once every 2 weeks. Soon, I was spending most of my days alone. One Sunday afternoon, I looked at the clock and waited for Ethan to arrive. I had prepared some food because I thought he might come. But the hours passed. He didn't come. Finally, I picked up my phone and called him. "Ethan, are you coming today?" There was silence for a moment. Then he said, "Mom, I'm sorry. Something came up." I tried to hide my disappointment. "That's okay, son. Maybe next week." "Sure, Mom," he replied. Then the call ended. I placed my phone on the table. I looked at the empty chair in front of me, and for the first time, a painful thought entered my mind. Had I made a terrible mistake? A few months passed after I moved into the new apartment. I tried my best to accept my new life. I told myself that everything was okay. I was closer to my son, and maybe things would become better with time. But deep inside, I felt something was missing. I missed my old house. I missed my garden. I missed the memories I had created with my husband and my son. Most of all, I missed the feeling of being needed. One morning, while I was drinking tea near the window, my phone rang. It was Ethan. "Mom, I want to come and see you today," he said. I felt happy. "Of course, Ethan. I will wait for you." After many weeks, I finally thought we would spend some time together. I prepared lunch and cleaned the apartment. I even put on the dress that Ethan always liked when he was young. That afternoon, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, Ethan was standing there. But this time, his smile was different. He looked nervous. "Come in, son," I said. He sat down quietly. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then Ethan looked at me and said, "Mom, we need to talk." My heart immediately felt heavy. I looked at him. "What happened, Ethan?" He took a deep breath. "Sophie is not comfortable with you living so close to us." I became silent. I couldn't understand his words. "What do you mean?" Ethan looked away. "She thinks it would be better if you lived somewhere else." I stared at him. "Somewhere else?" He nodded slowly. "We found another small apartment for you." For a moment, I felt like I couldn't hear anything. I looked at my son, the same son I had spent my entire life protecting, the same son I had trusted more than anyone. "But Ethan," I said softly, "you asked me to move here. You told me I would be closer to your family. You told me I would see Lily every weekend. You told me you would take care of me." Ethan looked down. "I know, Mom." "Then why is this happening?" I asked. He didn't answer. I felt tears filling my eyes. "Ethan, I gave up my home because I trusted you. I left behind everything I knew because you promised me that I would not be alone. I believed you." He stayed quiet. Then he whispered, "I am sorry, Mom." Those 3 words hurt more than I expected. An apology could not bring back my old home. It could not erase the loneliness I felt. That evening, I packed a small bag. I did not argue. I did not shout. I was too hurt to say anything. Before leaving, I looked around the apartment. I remembered how excited I was when I first came here. I thought I was starting a new chapter of my life. But now, I felt like I was starting over again. I spent that night in a small hotel. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at my phone. I wanted to call Ethan. I wanted to ask him why he did this. I wanted him to understand how much he hurt me. But I didn't call. The next morning, I decided to return to my old town. I had no house there anymore. I had no husband beside me. And now, I felt like I had lost my son too. At the bus station, I sat alone with my small bag in my hands. I watched people walking around me. Everyone seemed to have somewhere to go. Everyone seemed to belong somewhere. But I felt completely lost. An elderly woman sitting beside me noticed my sadness. She looked at me and asked, "Are you okay?" I forced a small smile. "Yes, I'm okay." But she knew I was not telling the truth. She handed me a bottle of water and said, "Sometimes life takes something away from us because it wants to make room for something new." I looked at her. At that moment, I didn't understand her words. I only felt pain. But later, I would realize that she was right. When I returned to my old town, I didn't know where I would live. Then I remembered a small community center near my old house. I walked there and met a kind woman named Clara. She listened carefully as I told her my story. She didn't judge me. She didn't ask questions. She simply smiled and said, "You don't have to face this alone." She offered me a small room connected to the community center. It was not a big place. It was not luxurious. But it was warm. That night, for the first time in many months, I felt safe. I didn't know it then, but that small room would become the beginning of a completely new life. When I moved into the small room at the community center, I thought my life had reached its lowest point. I had lost my home. I had lost the life I knew, and I felt deeply hurt by the person I trusted the most. But slowly, something began to change. The community center was filled with kind people. Every day, I met someone who needed a little help, a little kindness, or simply someone to listen. I started helping prepare meals for elderly people in the community. I helped children practice reading. I spent time talking with women who were also feeling lonely. For the first time in a long time, I felt useful again. I realized that my life still had meaning. I began waking up every morning with a purpose. I planted flowers outside my small room. I made new friends. I started smiling again. I even laughed again. I learned something important. Sometimes, when we lose something we love, we think our life is over. But sometimes, a new door opens when another one closes. Months passed. My small garden grew beautifully. The flowers I planted became a reminder that even broken things can grow again. Then one rainy evening, someone knocked on my door. I opened it. Standing outside was Ethan. For a moment, I couldn't say anything. He looked different. He looked tired. His eyes were filled with sadness and regret. "Mom," he whispered. I stayed quiet. He took a step forward. "I made a terrible mistake." I looked at him. "You hurt me, Ethan." He lowered his head. "I know, Mom. You asked me to leave the home where I had so many memories. I know. You promised you would take care of me. I know." His voice became emotional. "I was selfish, Mom. I thought I was making the right decision, but I was wrong." I looked away. His words hurt, but I could see that he truly regretted what he had done. Then Ethan said, "Lily still asks about you. She misses her grandmother." My heart became heavy. I missed Lily too. I missed her little smile and the way she used to hold my hand. After a moment, Ethan said, "Mom, please come home with me." I looked at him quietly. Then I said, "Ethan, I don't have a home with you anymore." He became silent, but then I smiled gently. I lost my old house. I lost the life I had planned. And for a while, I thought I had lost myself too. But something unexpected happened. I found people who care about me. I found a place where I belong, and I found myself again. Tears appeared in Ethan's eyes. "Can you ever forgive me?" he asked. I looked at my son, the little boy I once held in my arms, the young man I had always supported. Then I walked toward him and hugged him. "Yes, Ethan, I forgive you. But forgiveness does not mean I will forget what happened." He nodded. "I understand, Mom." From that day, Ethan changed. He started visiting me regularly. He spent time with me because he wanted to, not because he felt responsible. He respected my choices. He understood that I was not just his mother. I was also a person with my own dreams, feelings, and life. Today, I still love my son, but I also love myself. I have wonderful friends. I have a beautiful little garden. I have a purpose. Every Friday, I cook dinner for the people at the community center. My life is different now. It is not the life I imagined. But maybe it was never meant to be the same. Sometimes losing someone teaches us how to find ourselves. My son left me alone. But being alone taught me that I was stronger than I thought. I lost my old life, but I found a new one. And this time, I chose it for myself.
Share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to know your opinion.
Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next story.